Well, here I am in this beautiful location, and in my background is the beautiful Harley X440. Overtaking is a very pleasurable experience on this bike. I love making content like this, my reviews and my views on motorcycles that I ride, and I like to share the experience with you so that you can make an informed decision while you purchase this motorcycle or just take a ride to experience and feel the beautiful machine. And if you like the content that I make, the places that I visit and explore in and around Bangalore, do hit the subscribe button and do not forget to give it a thumbs up if you like the video. So when you look at the Harley, it's does look like a Harley, definitely. It has this largish tank. It has all metal around it. If you see, everything is metal, unlike the Scrambler. This is metal. This is metal. Everything. It's metal. So it's full metal. And what is good is, Hero Harley has managed to keep the weight at 190 kilos despite such a lot of metal. The classic 350 weighs about 5 kilos more than this with lesser power. That's about 20 bhp, and this makes about 27 bhp and a whole lot more of torque. 38 newton meters of torque. That's the torquiest 300 to 400 cc engine that we have on sale right now. Lovely machine. The only ugly part of the machine, as everybody say, is the rear part. One is of course the end can. It's an ugly piece, but I'll come to it later on. The second is the unfinished kind of rear end, which shows that there is a large gap between the tire and the rear fender. Now, this is the design language of the XR1200 if you see on the internet. So it was exactly the same, but I think Hero could have done a better job of the design of the rear end. The end can, it has a purpose, because that largish cylinder-like construction is supposed to give it the distinct sound that it has, and they have tried to emulate the the V-twin sound on a single cylinder engine, and they have done a commendable job. It may not sound like a V-twin exactly, but it does have a very handsome sound, and you will enjoy it. And today I'm going to compare the Harley Davidson X440 with my riding experience of the Scrambler 400X for more than a year. Back when both the Scrambler 400, the Speed 400 and the HDX 440 were launched, they created quite a sensation in the motorcycle market, because till then there were very few options other than a classic 350 to kind of in the 350 to 400 cc segment, where people were looking forward to upgrading from a 150 cc or 125 cc motorcycle, and they wanted to be associated with a big brand. Of course, you had the Pulsars and the Bajaj and TVS products, but if you wanted to be associated with a global brand like Harley Davidson or Triumph, you had to shell out a lot of money to get into the superbike category. So that's when the joint venture between Hero and Bajaj happened, with Harley Davidson and Triumph respectively, and two sensational motorcycle brands were launched. One is this, the HDX 440, and the other one is the Scrambler 400 and Speed 400. Now I got immediately hooked into those brands because I was riding a Meteor 350 and I wanted to get into the big league motorcycle brands, actually. Maybe get into big motorcycles at some point of time, which I'll talk about shortly. So I purchased the Scrambler 400 and I've ridden it almost for 11,000 kilometers for over a year, and I have a fair bit of experience regarding the strengths and the limitations of that motorcycle. But I really never had ridden the X440, and that's why I rented this motorcycle. Thought I will take a quick breakfast ride to my favorite cafe and decide on whether this could be one of the alternatives for me in the future, and also give you a perspective of what you should look about when you go comparing the HD and the Scrambler. Well, let me first talk about how does it feel riding the two motorcycles. Well, I must say it is a significantly different experience. The Scrambler has got an over-square engine, and it is a high compression ratio engine because it extracts a lot of power, 40 bhp from a 400cc motorcycle, 399cc to be precise, and it generates about 37 Newton meters of torque. On the other hand, the Harley Davidson is air and oil cooled. It's not liquid cooled like the Scrambler unit that generates about 27 bhp and about 38 Newton meters of torque, a little more than the Scrambler. But what is interesting is that the peak torque is generated at 4000 rpm instead of the Scrambler 6500 rpm. So this is not a high revving engine, it's a long stroke engine, and that gives it tremendous amount of pull at the bottom end. Mistake me not, even the Scrambler has got a tremendous amount of bottom end grunt, because that's where most of the power of the Scrambler is concentrated. So it gets a little vibey when you cross 120-130 km per hour. This is totally meant for bottom end grunt. This will not rev so high. Maybe about 8000 rpm you will have the rev limiter kicking in. So this is meant for comfortable cruising on the highway, but what is also important is it is meant to feel very different from the Scrambler. So the Scrambler, with the initial ride experience, what I can tell you, the Scrambler is a high revving engine, and it kind of urges you to move forward. It urges you to accelerate, twist the throttle all the time, something like the KTM like experience. But this, on the other hand, is something like a classic 350, the long stroke, soft beat that resonates in your ears when you put on your helmet. And let me tell you, I'll talk about the acoustics later on, is a beautiful experience. So you will not feel like revving the throttle too much. You will feel like taking it easy, soaking in the nature, and smoothly sailing across. And what will aid this experience of yours is the heft of the motorcycle. It's about 190 kilos, and the planted feel that the motorcycle gives when you traverse the city roads or the highways, and also the short seat height. So this is about 803 mm, and I am 5'8", and let me tell you, I can comfortably flat foot on this motorcycle, which gives you a lot of confidence. With the Scrambler, of course, it's supposed to be a Scrambler, and it's got a tallish seat height. I could tiptoe only on the Scrambler, and that of course gave it a higher ground clearance and a longer suspension travel, which made scrambling or mild off-roading easier and a better experience with the Scrambler. That's not the purpose of this bike. Can it not go a little bit off the road? Yes, it can, because it's got 170 mm of ground clearance, but then the suspension might bottom out. I was experiencing during my traveling through the road and soaking in the potholes of Bangalore that if the potholes were very big or you were at higher speeds, you might end up bottoming out. If you carry low speeds, it's a very comfortable riding experience. So let me tell you that what is the riding experience of the HD X440 in the city limits, in the city potholes, covering the bad roads as you can see just now. And how does it feel? Well, I must say it doesn't feel much different from the Scrambler. The Scrambler is superb at handling city potholes, and it does a fairly good job, and that's saying a lot, because the Scrambler is almost like a benchmark when it comes to handling city potholes. But only if we have very large potholes or undulations, probably it will face some difficulty, because this has about 170 mm of ground clearance, while the Scrambler has about 195. But apart from that, what is important is the Scrambler has about 150 mm of suspension travel on both ends with a rear monoshock, and this has a gas charged twin shock absorber. You know, one queer thing I have noticed about this motorcycle is that you cannot start this motorcycle in any gear by pressing your clutch. I think that's a big disadvantage compared to the Scrambler, because a lot of times in traffic situations you don't have the time to get into neutral, and here every time you need to start the motorcycle you have to come back to the neutral. Of course, it's not difficult to find neutral here. It's a very nice sleek gearbox, but then it's a convenience feature that's being missed. So I am arriving at the biker's pit stop basically, so that I can take a halt, look at the situation. Some of my friends might have arrived, and we can proceed towards the best location in and around Bangalore, the cafe, for early morning, dose of caffeine. Wedges are rounded, very thoughtfully designed switch gears, and they don't have any rough edge. Even while cleaning the motorcycle today morning, I could feel that there are rough edges and I might get a nick on my finger or something, which never was the case with the Scrambler. So there are some fine edges that needs to be smoothened out in the next iteration of this motorcycle, and then I think this will be good to go. It's got a lovely feel to it. It's got a beautiful retro modern charm. Even the Scrambler has that, but it's got a very different feel for spending long hours on the saddle. But now, after having spent about 30-35 minutes on the saddle, I just have a feeling that maybe the seat is a little too soft. It's nice for short durations, but maybe if you want to travel on this motorcycle, tour on this motorcycle, you would like to have a more harder compound on the seat, So the brakes are decent enough. It's got a 320 mm front disc, and it's got about, I think, 240 mm at the rear. They do a decent job of stopping the motorcycle. It's a heavy motorcycle. It's a lot of metal. There are plastics in the Scrambler at certain parts, but here it's a lot of metal. I will show you when I stop and have a look at the motorcycle. So is it saddle friendly? I mean, can you stand up on the foot pegs? Let me try. Yes, you can easily do it. The handlebars are a little low, but then the foot pegs are solid and firm, and you can easily stand on the foot pegs. So if there is a very bad kind of a crater or pothole, you can easily, like it's coming right now, I can easily take it. But there is a distant thud you can feel, unlike the Scrambler. Go to my favorite spot and have a good look at the Harley X440. Probably I'm on the last person to review this bike on YouTube, but nonetheless my perspective is how does it feel coming from the Scrambler. So it's a different perspective, because when you have a budget like this, 3.5 to 4 lakh rupees, you always evaluate the options, and looking at the experience of people who have ridden both bikes for long hours is always a good perspective to have. You realize what you want and whether which motorcycle serves it better, the purpose that you're buying the motorcycle for. Well, let me stand here and show you this beautiful location. You've seen it multiple times on my video, and yeah, this is not something I can do on my Scrambler. Just step out of the motorcycle. have to stand on the foot pegs. Let's have a good look at the Harley X440. See, the exhaust I can understand, but I do not understand what is the purpose that these kind of ungainly wires have been left outside, hanging, dangling from the top, dangling from the bottom. The clutch wire, brake wires, everything. This is not the same in the Scrambler. The weldings and the joints, these are not finished properly, and I think this is where Harley should have taken some time to improve the product and then launch it. I think it was done all in a hurry. Launching was more important rather than the product. Well, here I am in this beautiful location, and in my background is the beautiful Harley X440. Trying to give some retro modern charm to your ride in the morning, and these lovely mountains, the hills, and the lake, and the chirping birds around you. So, this is the kind of place a motorcycle like the Harley can bring you to, and that is why these wonders on two wheels are so important part of our lives of bikers. Because they bring us to these beautiful places. So, what do you think about looking at when you look at the motorcycle? It looks nice, right? It's supposed to bring in the nostalgia of yesteryears, the XR 1200. At the same time, it's supposed to add some of the modern features like anti-lock braking system, a modern instrument cluster, Bluetooth connectivity, etc., etc. Which incidentally the Scrambler doesn't have. There is no Bluetooth connectivity. It's not that I regret it, because it's something that you wish you had, and then you never used to use it. At least I never use my Bluetooth connectivity on either my scooter or my motorcycles. Tell me about you. What do you do?